GPT 5.1 has three superpowers that most people are completely missing. And if you don't understand them, you're leaving hours of productivity on the table every single day. So in 12 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how to take advantage of these three superpowers and create the AI coworker you've been waiting for. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Ryan Staley. I have been executing AI transformation for companies ranging from startups, 30 million in revenue, all the way to 20 billion in revenue that are publicly traded over the last 3 years. And I have an unhealthy obsession with AI and how it can unlock new things for what's possible, right? But today we're going to go through the three superpowers, and I'm just going to get right into this and start sharing with you. I wanted this to be a quick update so that you have access to this. If you're listening on the podcast, definitely check out the YouTube live, because I am going to show some videos that I think you'll really appreciate, or I should say visuals, if you will. Okay, so the first one is the three superpowers, okay? And I'm going to go through this because it's really easy to dismiss this and walk right by it, but there's a lot that you could tap into that's absolutely insane. And this was just released on November 12th by OpenAI. And there's three core superpowers that really matter for business users, okay? We have speed and warmth, we have adaptive reasoning, and we have instruction and precision following. Okay, so these aren't really separate features. These are interconnected capabilities that eliminate just endless regeneration cycles. At the same time, it makes it sound and feel more human, which is what a lot of folks complain about when I work with them about just it sounds AI generated, right? They're really worked on that, and it's much, much tighter with that. So in the next 12 minutes, I'm going to show you what each superpower does. Okay, so let's get right into it. As you can see here, there's two core models on the instant versus thinking. So they actually made this easier for everyone to understand versus having a wider range of variations. And so as you can see, version GPT-5.1 Instant is more for speed and warmth and adaptive reasoning. So what it really feels like it's a little bit more in touch on the EQ side, the emotional intelligence, if you will. So I'm going to share some downstream use cases that you use this for in your business, sales, marketing, growth, you name it, even for executives, so you can understand how to really, really get the most out of it. All right. Now, the other one is GPT 5.1 Thinking. All right. But before I get into that, I want to go through kind of why it matters. In terms of the instant, it really solves the uncanny value problem where AI sounds smart, but feels off. Clients can tell it's robotic. Prospects can as too. And so if you think of it, the speed's going to handle the volume problem. So too many tasks, not enough time. And then the warmth is more addressed to the quality problem. So if you're looking at how you could unlock those 10 hours a week that I was talking about, it's going to be a lot better at meeting recaps, email responses, social posts, quick content drafts. Creativity, I've heard it is off the charts. I've tested it and I've been really impressed so far as well. But now that we move over to, okay, let's get over to the adaptive reasoning side, right? How do we make it warm without intelligence or without sacrificing that, right? And so what it actually did is it scored 85% on the AIME 2025 advanced benchmark. It also scored 10 percentage points higher than GPT-5 previously. So the math is getting better and there's no wasted time. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go through more instruction following. Or I should say the thinking, right? So the thinking actually is really good because it adjusts the amount of time that it spends on the patterns that it's thinking on effectively based on what you really need, okay? So with that, what I'm going to do is show you how to access this directly in GPT-5.1 so that you can start taking advantage of this today. So if we go over here, what you're going to see is basically it's really simple, and you can just keep it on auto. However, I like the control and I prefer it. So if I wanted to jump in here and do instant, that's going to be much more faster, quicker, narrow in task. And then thinking is going to be much more designed around strategic execution or long form answers that are really complicated. And I'm going to show you some examples of this as we get a little bit deeper into the 6 superpowers, because on the third one, there's 6 core areas that you could leverage this in. So I'm going to show you exact examples of it. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to pop over back to what I was walking you through before. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to switch to superpower 2. So what you're going to see here is it's really about the personalization upgrades. And they spend a lot of time on this because I noticed there's a lot of people in social, in my clients that have talked about how Claude feels, right? And notice the word feels like it's much more in tune with human and what I need, and or the vibes are good, right? That's the other example. And so what I would say is with that, it's super critical because people don't want to work with something that feels like choppy and robotic, like Max Headroom from the 80s, where it's all glitchy, right? And so like effectively, that's a really good area. I'm going to show you how to access it. They have professional, friendly, candid, quirky, efficient, cynical, and nerdy. And I'm going to show you examples of what they look like on both of them, right? So personally, I like the candid mode. I just wanted to give you my points, but that aligns with my communication style. A lot of folks don't like that as much, right? They want more of a warm feeling. They want to feel like a friend, and they want to have that like kind of like emotional connection, if you will. So if we pop back over to ChatGPT, I actually ran these in advance just for speed purposes. And I ran an example with candid and quirky. But before I walk you through that, I'm going to show you how you could change these workspace settings for yourself. So you hop over to personalization. And then what you could do is there's all these different areas that you could change. Okay, now it isn't in the base tone and style as default, so it's really balanced. I switched it to candid, right? However, there's professional, friendly, quirky, efficient, nerdy, and cynical. Okay, so all different ways where you can kind of tap into this and leverage it. So if we're just looking at candid, this is kind of how it spits out. I asked the same question, the simple question of kind of what we're doing now, where it's like, is GPT-5.1 better than 5.0? Okay, and so here's the candid answer. Really straight to the point, in bullet points, and really specific formatting. So you used to have to create really detailed custom instructions for this. Now, what I will tell you is custom instructions have gotten even better when using this. So to go back into the settings real quick, I'll show you how to do that. You go into here and you have custom instructions within here. You could leverage those for really defining exactly how it interacts with you and what it does. I don't have it turned on in this setting because of the fact that I really want to use this when I show clients and whatnot. So this is my client instance, if you will. Okay, so the other one is quirky. Let's take a look at quirky. So if we hop over to quirky, I asked literally the same exact question. And as you can see, it's infusing a lot more personality elements into it, right? And it's just overall friendly. It's more conversational, right? Versus the like, Ryan, this is exactly what it is. This is how you do it. Okay. So I think that's really important because it all comes down to your personal preference. And what we're going to see are people are going to have, just like they do with Apple and Mac, I'm sorry, Apple is Mac, Apple as well as Microsoft, they have a preference based on the feel of it, but they get used to it. And that's what they're trying to do with the AI model so that you have that connection to it. All right. So what we're now going to do is get into the third superpower, which actually has 6 improvements over ChatGPT 5. And I'm going to show you an example at the end that actually I was really, really freaking impressed with. And I think you will be as well. Okay. So what I would say is instruction following, it's really good at it. Okay. So the upside and the downside with instruction following is like, you could say like, formatted as 3 bullets with no more than 15 word deeds. And it does exactly, and it's not loose interpretation. So GPT-4 and even GPT-5 would drift a lot with that. So the more specific you could be, the better off it's going to align with that. Okay. Now, at the same time, it does better for multi-step task sequencing. Okay. So I'll probably do a video on this in the future. I did one on the past with GPT-5. If you can construct the prompt the right way, you could have it do an entire workflow without creating a super complex automation system or N8N node system or anything like that. So what you're also going to see is this is going to eliminate one of the biggest user frustrations that I've seen across 25 implementations, and that's inconsistency. Okay, so let's get to strategic decision making. I'm going to show an example of this because I was blown away with what it did here. So give me 1 second. Let me hit through this, and I'm going to jump back over. And then improving the user's thinking. Okay, so it's actively showing its reasoning and allow the users to refine prompts. So it's like showing its work, if you will. All right, so I want to show you this example because I was really, really impressed with this. And the beautiful thing about it is I went back into the archives and I used an example that unlocked a whole new world for me. And back in GPT 3.5, I'm like seeing how it's going to do. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through this right now. Really simple and easy to kind of understand, but it's very detailed as well. What you're going to see here is within this area, I have basically a prompt to look at OKRs and KPIs. So OKRs are objectives, keys, and results, and KPIs are just key performance indicators. Added simplets, it's how to measure different individuals on results. Okay, so I looked at this through the lens of a sales leader and I said, hey, I don't know if you've heard about Gamma, big fan of Gamma. They just, I believe, got a $1 billion valuation, huge funding round. And I think they grew to 100 million organically. So I came up with a hypothetical situation of 100 million and 200 million this year. This is my goal. Now, here's the part that gets really interesting. I asked it to grow a revenue by 100 million in 12 months. I forgot to change two of these other goals that I had, right? I said increase customer revenue by 20%. That makes sense. And have 80% of my team hit their quota of 500K. Okay, so this is the part, like this math does not add up, right? Like if I have 80% of my team of 30 hitting their quota at 80%, it's not going to be anywhere near to this 100 million part, right? And as you can see on the rest of this, there's a lot of other details in terms of like explaining what OKRs and KPIs are so that it's hyper specific in detail. Now, this is what blew me away. What you're going to see here is like, and I did this through the thinking capability, okay? Because this is a complex task. Let's treat this like a real revenue plan, not a poster for the wall, okay? So that was on the candid mode. And it said, you want this team of 30? In reality, you should not skip this, right? Your team has this, and so these are the numbers you're talking about, yet I'm here. So it's like, dude, you messed up. You missed one of the key variables. So I thought that was really, really good. And so what it says is basically it mapped out a goal of two different objectives. Like this is how it would do if it was 100 million in the next 12 months, right? And then what it gave are KPIs. And then 2 was more around the objective 2, which was existing customer growth, which I thought was great. And 3 was rep performance and team health. All right. So it still gave me those, even though my goal was off. And so I was like, oh, wow, I can't believe I missed that. Like, this is the learning opportunity. This is perfect for the video, right? And then it said how to cascade this to your 30-person team. So it's like how to actually like implement it, right? So it went all the way from like ideas to like measuring the team. All right. So then how to run this in practice. Okay. So goes through that. And now I said, please update the team numbers as you see fit to align with the goal of hitting 100 million in new revenue this year. Okay. So what I asked it to do is just basically re-engineer it on the core outcome goal, even though I missed up like some of the sub goals that I had. Okay. And this is where I was really impressed with it. So all right, Ryan, let's do this. So it busted it out. Said I need a team quota of 120 million, doing 83% attainment, which I thought was really smart. That's what like a sophisticated sales leader would need to do, like have some hedge in there and know that you're not going to hit 100% of the quota. Updated team numbers, it had this in here where basically it's assuming, 80% of the reps hit 4 million quota, right? So it changed their quotas from 500K to 4 million per rep. And then it has updated OKRs for each example. All right. So these are like, and I don't need to really go through the rest of this, but I wanted to give you that. One thing that was, I thought, pretty impressive too, is it said, all right, if you want me to go one level deeper and back into like the sub metrics for this, this is really good. And folks, this doesn't need to be sales. This could be marketing funnels. This could be if you're a solopreneur. This could be for content. This could be for operations and products, right? Like there's so many ways where you could leverage this. And as you could see, it went much, much deeper into the metrics of what we actually need. As well as the opportunities needed in giving hit rates. Okay. So a lot of this math is really hard for executives to kind of go through and map. It's funny. I was talking with a C-suite at a $300 million company, and I was walking through a workshop where I was going through examples. And one of the things we kind of came to the conclusion of is they didn't have KPIs for every role. So they didn't really tightly measure exactly how it is. And so before they could move forward with an AI initiative, they needed to understand that. I'm like, well, we could do that in 15 minutes. They're like, really? They're like, yeah, like normally that would take days to do. I'm like, no, we can do it in 15 minutes. That's the exact example of that. So wanted to share that with you so you could see it. We're going to go through the last 3 superpowers because I want to make sure you don't miss those because once again, they're subtle but significant. All right. So what you're seeing too is, as you can see, comprehensive planning. These are the areas that I kind of pinpointed: go to market calendars or plans, roadmaps, content calendars. This is all good, especially because we're at the planning part of year, right? We're in November, middle of November, and this is a good area for planning, all right? Writing and creativity. So this is going to give you that human feel. And if you have memory turned on, it will sound more like you. Okay, that's another example of how to make it be much, much deeper. Then if we talk interactive intelligence, I thought this was exemplified in what I just showed you. Useful pushback and original insights. It said, hey, Ryan, like, you're off, man. This isn't exactly it. You need to kind of fine tune it. So in summary, like, I think it really transforms AI from a tool to a teammate if you know how to tap into it. And today, that's what I did, is I walked you through that. So just to kind of recap, like, I think if we're looking at how to execute and how to make this a part of what you're doing, a couple real world examples, like if we're talking about for sales teams, you could draft personalized outreaches in bulk, adaptive reasoning. You could analyze complex deals, recommend next moves. For marketing, I would say high volume content drafts, strategic work on positioning documents. Those are a couple of examples where you could use it for in real world. And then, like, if you're also doing that, like if you were to want to execute on all three of these today, this is what I would say. Step one, identify the recurring tasks. Find 3 recurring tasks you do weekly, time consuming, but follow a pattern. That's number one, right? That could be meeting recaps, email sequences, content planning. Step 2, write prompts. Okay. There's a 4-step framework that's super simple: role, goal, input, and output format, right? Role is who should the AI be? Goal is what do you want? Input is what are you giving it? And output is how should it be structured. Okay. So that's super simple. And then what I would do is test on GPT-5 Instant and observe. Okay. So see how it does with the speed and warmth and the adaptive reasoning, but then also test only the thinking. And I would manually toggle those. Obviously, you want to capture those prompts at work. And then last but not least, experiment with the personality presets. Okay. So my recommendation would be, you might want something warmer if you're writing content out, if that's how you talk. If you are talking about internal documents where you want something synthesized from a lot of data, you probably just want the candid details. Okay? So I think that's really important. So the goal is really not to become like an absolute expert, but if you implement this, you'll have a higher level of mastery than 99% of people out there. So appreciate you joining me today on this episode or this video. And I actually went a little longer than 12 minutes. I went to 17, but I want to make sure I hit on all this for you and delivered on updating you on this and where I see the opportunities and how to execute. Feel free to check out in my newsletter. I'm sharing details like this every week, and I'm also starting to share prompts and other use cases for that. So feel free to check that out in the link below. But appreciate you being on, and we'll see you all on the next episode.